Okay, so now you've learned how to write a linear equation algebraically using either method. So we have point slope form. That was the first method that we used from 310 day 1. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And then getting it into slope-intercept form. Or day 2 we did slope-intercept form. And that's where you solve for b. So y equals mx plus b. You plug in y, m, and x, solve for b, and then you write your equation in slope-intercept form, replacing m and b into your equation. So from this point forward, you can use either one. You do not have to know how to use both. Some people find point slope form easier, and some people find slope-intercept form easier. So use either method that you want to for this whenever it tells you to find the equation of the line algebraically. All right, so 311, activity 1. You're going to graph both of these 2 points and connect them using a ruler. Obviously, with your iPads, you probably can't use a ruler, but you can hold the line and then just make sure that it's straight. You can find the rise over the run to figure out what your slope is. You can look at your graph to see where this line crosses the y-axis. Remember, it's your vertical axis. So we want to know where this line crosses on the vertical axis. You're going to calculate the slope algebraically, so make sure that you show your work here. So you're using the points that you're given, which are 0, 3, and -4, -1. So you're going to find the slope, and you should get one single rational number for your slope, and then find the equation of the line algebraically. So this is what we did the past 2 days of notes, and technically 4 days if you include notes and problem sets. So again, it says use either point slope form, which is the first method that we looked at, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1, or use y equals mx plus b. And again, you have to show your work here. I know that you can look at what you did before and write down what you have, but you need to show your work so that I know that you know how to figure it out algebraically. And then this activity 2 is essentially the same thing. You just have a couple different points to look at with this. So make sure you find the rise over the run, see where it crosses the y-axis, write the equation in slope-intercept form, so just fill in m and b from 2 and 3. And then again, for the next half, then you're using this point, -4, 2. And the other point, which is 0, -5. And you're going to find everything algebraically. So 2 reasons for that. Number 1, your y-intercepts aren't always going to be integers. So you can get decimals for your y-intercept when you're doing these, or fractions if we want exact values. And number 2, sometimes it's just not feasible to create a graph or to have a graph. So you need to know how to do it algebraically so that you can figure it out. And then again for 6, either use point slope form or use slope intercept form. And that brings us to 3.11, which is the equation of a line when you're given 2 points. So in 310, oops, let me make my pen a little smaller. So in 310, we were given 1 point and a slope. In this case, we're given 2 points. So we don't have the slope, we just have an extra point. So it's a different set of things to start with. And essentially, you're doing this process in the activities. So there's another step to this. You need to use the slope formula to calculate the slope. You can use either method to find the equation, which is, again, point slope form or slope intercept form. So I'm going to write both down when I go through 2 examples. Pick one that you need or that you like or that you can get correct most of the time, and stick with it and practice it over and over and over. Okay, so for example 1, we want to write the slope-intercept form of the equation of the line through the given points. So the first thing that we have to do, no matter what, regardless of which method we choose, we have to find the slope. So remember, ordered pairs are x and y. And technically it doesn't matter what you label these as long as they have the same subscripts. So I'm going to go in numerical order. So our slope is y2 minus y1, which is -3 minus 2 over x2 minus x1, 1 minus 0. So -3 minus 2 is -5, and then 1 minus 0 is 1, and -5 divided by 1 is just simply -5. Again, you do not have to do both of these methods, but I'll do the first method that we learned. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And then after that, I'll do slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. And it's a good way to double check your answers and make sure that you're doing them correctly as well. So it also doesn't matter which point you use once we have the slope. So I know we have a slope of -5. So I'm going to use that for both of them. And for the first one, I'll use the point 0, 2. And for the second one, I'll use the point 1, -3. And we should end up with the same equation, regardless of which point that we use, as long as we do everything correctly. So in this case, we have x1 and y1. So this is going to be y minus 2 equals -5 times x minus 0. So with point slope form, we have to distribute. So we have y minus 2 equals -5 times x would be -5x. -5 times 0 would be 0. And then we have to solve this for y by adding 2 to both sides of our equation. And we get y equals -5x plus 2. So there's our equation of the line in slope-intercept form. If we take a look at Desmos, just to kind of double check and make sure that we did it correctly. So let me find Desmos. There it is. So we can plot both of these points. 0, 2. So there's that point in red. And then 1. Oops. 1, -3. So this is what it's going to look like. You can see that point then over there in blue. And the line that we came up with is y equals -5x plus 2. And if we zoom in, you can see that this green line passes through both of those points. And it's written in slope-intercept form. So we would know for sure we have the correct answer. Okay, so method number 2 then, slope-intercept form. So in this case, again, we have m is -5, and we have x and y over here. So we have, filling in y, we'd have -3 equals our slope, which is -5 times 1 plus b. So in slope-intercept form, we have to multiply these together. We get -5. And then add 5 to both sides. So b is going to equal 2, -3 plus 5. And then last step with this one, we have to write in slope-intercept form, so -5x plus our y-intercept, which is 2. Again, you can see we came up with our same graph. One more way to check, especially if like you're working on the Keystone exams, we can take both of these points and plug them into the equations and see if it's true. So let's check if we have 0, 2. So we'd have 2 equals -5 times 0 plus 2. Well, -5 times 0 is 0. And we end up with 2 equals 2. So far so good in our first equation. And then we can check -3 equals -5 times our x value, which is 1, plus 2. So -3 equals negative 5 plus 2. Negative 5 plus 2 is negative 3. So we end up with 2 equal numbers when we check our first point, and we end up with 2 equal numbers when we check our second point. So we would know with 100% certainty that we have the correct answer. And then you're going to get the same thing with the other one because it's exactly the same line. But remember, choose one method and stick with it. Both are going to give you the same answer, just so long as you do your work correctly and you come up with your correct equation, and take a second to stop and check and make sure that it's true. Okay, so here's example 2 then. Again, the first thing that we have to do is we have to figure out our slope. So x and y are ordered pairs. Again, it doesn't matter if we call this 1 and 1 or 2 and 2, so I'm going to change the order this time and make it 2 and 2 and 1 and 1. So our slope is y2 minus y1, negative 2 minus 5, divided by x2 minus x1, negative 4 minus negative 3. So negative 2 minus 5 is negative 7, and then negative 4 plus 3 is going to give us negative 1. So our slope in this case is positive 7. Negative divided by negative gives us a positive. And again, you can use either method. You don't have to write both down when you write this down. But our first method is point slope form. So y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1, or slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. Again, either method should give us the same answer. It also does not matter which point we use. So we have the same slope for both of them. It's a slope of 7. And then for the first one, I'll use the point negative 4, negative 2. And then for the second one, I'll use the point negative 3, 5. So in our first equation, y minus negative 2, so there's x1 and y1, which is going to be y plus 2, so it's the opposite sign, so be careful with that, equals 7 times x minus negative 4, which would be plus 4. So we're going to distribute the 7, and we have y plus 2 equals 7x plus 28. And then solving this, we have to subtract 2 from both sides, and we get y equals 7x plus 26. And hopefully we get the same answer with the next one. So in this case, again, this is x and y, so we're going to sub in x, y, and m and figure out what b is equal to. So 5 is going to equal 7 times negative 3 plus b. So 5 equals negative 21 plus b. And then to solve this, we got to get rid of this negative 21. We do so by adding 21 to both sides. 21 plus 5 is 26. So 26 is b. We have m and b, which means that our equation is y equals 7x plus 26. And then just double checking. We'll just use Desmos this time to double check. So our points in this case negative 4, negative 2, and negative 3, 5. So they're over there this time, you can see. And the equation that we came up with is y equals, there should be a 26 there. Y equals 7x plus 26. And you can see, if we zoom in a little bit here, you can see there's our red point, there's our blue point, and then our line passes right through it, this equation of y equals 7x plus 26. So if we didn't have the correct y-intercept, so let's say maybe we thought it was y equals 7x plus 2, you can see that this line is not going to pass through our 2 points. So you'd have to go back, check your math, ask questions if you would need a little bit of help figuring out where you went wrong or what you're doing incorrectly. And then you would come up with the correct line that passes through both of the 2 points. Okay, so make sure then that you finish example 3. And make sure that you take your time and that you do investigation activity 1 and activity 2 correctly, because that's kind of like the whole crux, the whole heart of this notes that you have here. As always, if you need help, ask questions. Happy to help you, and let me know.